G'day. Tip number 1, be early. So if the school says to be there by 8:30 for a 9 o'clock start, what I will do is I'll actually get there at 8 o'clock. So that does two things. It shows your enthusiasm and your commitment to the day, and it also gives you time, plenty of time, to set up the class. So it'll give you time to go photocopy some resources. It'll give you time to write your agenda up on the board. It'll give you time to have a look around the room, see what other things that you can incorporate into the lesson. And it'll also give you time, most importantly, to read through the teacher's left lesson plan. And having said that, if they haven't left you a lesson plan, you've got plenty of time to write one up. Number 2, before the bell. So before the bell, your day's agenda will be up on the board. And if you can, pin the teacher's plan that they've left you, pin that up on the board next to where you've written down the things. So that just does a couple of things. Most of the kids will see that that's the teacher's handwriting, and they will know that, this is some stuff that we actually need to get done. Second thing in here is it'll give you time to prepare for your fast finisher activities. So those are word searches. So I've got photocopied, I'll have some word searches and I'll have some mindfulness colouring in. So I can use that once students have finished their work, and instead of just being disruptive, they can just jump straight into those fast finishes. So they can choose those, or they can choose to do some silent drawing or reading. It'll also give you time before the bell to, if you can, log into the computer. And what I will do is I'll open up a few tabs on Google Chrome, and I will have an online timer ready for those activities that you need to count down, or say, it's packing up time and you want to put on a 5-minute timer. Also, I'll jump onto some YouTube channels, so maybe Mr. Bean cartoons, things like that, or a Go Noodle. The lineup. So the kids lining up outside the classroom is one of the best ways for you to make sure that your behaviour within the class is spot on. So what I mean by that is I will only let in the first half of the class into the room. So I'll explain to them what we're going to be doing. So for example, when you go inside, you're going to put your bags away and do some silent reading until I've marked the roll. So I'll let half the class in, and then I will stop the remaining half, and I will say to them the same thing. But because they're up the back, and generally as the line goes down, you're most likely going to get more behaviour issues from those students. So with that in mind, those students, I'll say, once you go inside, you're going to put your bags away, you're going to do some silent reading or drawing until I've marked the roll. So they've now really listened, and they know what's expected of them. So when they do go inside, they're going to see the first half of the class working well, and they're most likely not going to be silly or misbehave. And if they do go into the class and they can't do it the way you've asked them to, they muck around or they're being disruptive, just ask them to go back outside and try it again. So you really want to get that first part of the day, you want to nail that. Okay, and the fourth thing is the intro. So when you speak to the group, what I will do is I will obviously say my name and how to pronounce it. I will then show them the day's agenda is up on the board, and then I will also talk through the school's values. So I'll find out what the school's values are. So most schools have usually 3 or 4 different values. So those can be ready to learn, responsibility, respect, do your best. So I'll ask the class, what does respect mean? What does responsibility mean? So we are on the same page with how the day is going to go. They're not just going to throw those values out the door just because a casual relief teacher is in for the day. The next thing I will do is I will speak to them about the reward system. So just up here, I'm going to put a little column, and there's a smiley face and a sad face column. What I'll do is, once students have started working and they're doing well, I will just ask them, can you please go put your name up under the smiley face? Get that good behavior going and get that reward going for that good behavior. So they will be, they will feel good about that, and it'll also show the other students, oh, hang on a sec, I'm going to do my work and get my name up on the board. We all want to feel important, and that's the most important thing in this situation. Those smiley faces could mean a number of things. It could be they use dojo points for the classroom. It could mean that you might take them out for a game this afternoon, or you might even give them some free time. That's totally your call. The next thing is you want to speak about how you've been in contact with their teacher. So you could say something like, your teacher, Mrs. Robbins, emailed me this morning and she's told me, or she's given me the day's agenda. I've pinned that up on the board so it's there for all of us. Well, let's work through that. There's quite a lot there to do, and I'm going to report back to your teacher and let her know, what went well, what didn't go well, standout students, and were there any students who were making poor choices. So that'll get the kids thinking about how they're going to behave. The fifth thing is behavior management. So I've made another video about this, which I'll link at the end of this one. But basically, I've got a couple of things. So the first thing is my 3-strike rule. So the first strike is a verbal warning or a verbal statement to that student if they've done something. If they're speaking out, or they're running around the room, or they're being just generally silly. The second strike is I will move them. So whether that's to another part of the room or just away from the student that they're sitting next to. And the third strike will be dependent on the class and the school. But usually what I'll do is the first step would be a recess or lunch detention. And that's where they will write out some dictionary meanings or write out their multiplication table. Another thing they could do if the school has an incident report, so you might fill out one of those and you hand that into the office, and then the office decides on what the consequence will be. So just find out from the senior leaders in your school what's the course of action that you would need to take if a student is continuing disruptive or defiant behaviour. The last thing in behaviour management is the simplest, but I find the most effective. So it's just saying thank you. So when students are working well, just go around the room and just start, thank you very much for doing your work, mate. That's really good. Or thank a group of students. As silly as it sounds, you want to make sure that other kids hear you saying that, because it will entice them to want to follow on with those really good behaviour students. So I'll just keep saying things like that. I'll even incorporate some of the values. I'll say, that's great work, you're doing your best, or, you've really taken on that responsibility of getting this task done. Well done, mate. That's behaviour management. Now, my last tip is my bag. What's in my bag? So initially, earlier in my career, I took a big binder and I had clear sleeves with different activities. I also had it broken up into year levels. I don't do that anymore. So basically all I've got are the mindfulness colouring in pages. So I might have a few of those. I've also got the word searches, so I'll have also another few. So I'll split those up between, K to 6. So I'll make sure that I've got some for everyone. I've got pens, I've got markers, I've got my hat, I've got my lunch, I've got my water bottle. So my bag isn't that full. I just take one bag and that's it. Okay, thanks very much for listening. If you've got any comments, questions, or anything you want to discuss, leave it down below. Thanks for watching. See ya.